welcome back to another edition of the Brotherhood with my brother from another mother, D-Money, right here on the Blue and Black Attack podcast. D-Money, how are you this evening, my friend?
Yo, what's going on, my brother Diesel skills? Kind of a different type of weekend feel because we don't have that Panther action on a Sunday, but we get that Panther action on a Monday. So since we don't get that very often, I got to figure out how I'm gonna change my routine up a little bit. Figure out how I can be satisfied. But going into this game right here and going into this weekend, I'm feeling absolutely great. I hope the Panthers fan base is feeling great. I know there's some trepidation in some areas and there's a lot of hope in others. I'm just gonna say trust the process, family. Let's just watch how it's gonna play out.
No, you're 100% right. Fans do need to trust the process. This 2025 Carolina Panthers team didn't start out in a way that was conducive to the fans. It didn't start out in a way that got the fans hyped about this season. It didn't start out in a way that was like Week 18 last year, putting up 44 points on the Atlanta Falcons in overtime to win that game. But the Carolina Panthers have most certainly come to life with a win against Dallas, a win against Green Bay, and another big win in Atlanta, breaking the franchise record, 448 passing yards from Bryce Young. Just an amazing job by that team all the way around. Only giving up 6 points in the second half on defense. I mean, the whole team really came together, and we're seeing the culmination of all the efforts really starting to pay off for Dave Dallas and Dan Morgan. And it's all coming from humble beginnings, D. Look at a guy like Corey Thornton. Corey Thornton, added to this team as a UDFA, became the star just last Sunday against the Atlanta Falcons because of injuries. Until Lathan Ransom, he had the opportunity to play, and boy, did he ever make the most of it. He looked like a superstar coming up in key times, and he's bought into the culture built by Dave Dallas and Dan Morgan. And moving forward, I think we're going to see that more of these players are coming from those humble beginnings to become stars on this Carolina Panthers team, or at least guys that can contribute on a consistent basis as we build towards building a positive depth on this team that we haven't had in years, D-Money. How are you feeling about these humble beginnings for the Carolina Panthers in 2025?
Well, absolutely, absolutely. Like I agree 100% when you really start to look at this organization and the Carolina Panthers in 2025. Humble beginnings is always like a very appropriate title to have, especially just where we're at. Like right now, I know I say numerous times that when we get to 5-5 and 6-5 and so forth, nobody had that on their bingo card. Nobody, so you know that something was kicking in. There was some kind of effect. But when you introduced in a little short of humble beginnings, it made me think of guys like Chuba Hubbard. If we really sit and think about it, Chuba Hubbard really hasn't had a season where he's got to be productive on meaningful football since the interim year. That interim takeover, Steve Wilkes, when Wilkes came in the middle of the season. And well, we lost to Tampa Bay and gave up pretty much our position at the end of the year. Okay? We have guys like Taylor Moton, who never really got the most praise at Carolina, but was always that steady rock, that steady ship. He was there and produced to the best of whatever line he had to work with. Guys, he did his best. And you watched him stay strong. I mean, we start talking about all types of humble beginnings, like when you talk about this team. And I'm just going to briefly interject it because I don't never want to give false hope into things, right? But like 2015, none of us looked at 2015 that 2015 was going to be the 2015 team. We didn't think that we was even going to be remotely as competitive as we were with that 2015 team. Now, of course, going into this team, the expectations were some people had them high, some people had them middle, some people had them low. That's fine. That's a variety of fan base. But, there was a lot of people that really had us on the lower end, and hopefully we would improve to the middle tier. But in my eyes, and looking at this team, we're more into a middle tier situation way before we should have really people's belief of us being a middle tier team. And that comes from different guys from humble beginnings. We have wide receiver coach turned offensive coordinator to only 1 year of play calling to the head coach of an NFL franchise, and that's Dave Canellis. Wow. Look where he's at right now. I don't think if anybody takes that resume completely and just looks at that resume before getting here, they would think that where we're the point that we're at right now, we would be at that point. That's just a thought of mine. But then when you take that collaborative effort, and then you take that coach that came from humble beginnings, you take that general manager who comes from humble beginnings, you take the money guy who comes from humble beginnings, and then they go and they find a wide receiver and really with a first round, had to trade up a couple of spaces to get that 5th-year guarantee. You take a young man who lost his mother, lost his father, at a very early age and had very humble beginnings where statistics would say that he would have not been a first round pick in the NFL or even a player in the NFL because by statistics he would have probably not been here anymore or maybe even possibly incarcerated, coming from a small town in South Carolina that had shown nothing but humble beginnings. You can hear the humble beginnings just in his accent and his voice. Those are some of those people that had that moniker came from some of the more earlier times, the more less tech times, convenient times, to where people now who was born before the time of 1995 would find it totally prehistoric. And he came from those, you hunt it, you eat it. You grow it, you eat it. And if the ball's in the air and it's you or mine, my ball or no ball. So I love and I appreciate those guys with humble beginnings. But then when you look at this defense, when you look at this, we're looking at guys like Derek Brown. Derek Brown, drafted in the top 10, been consistent his whole time, been great for the Carolina Panthers. But this dude, at the level that he plays, could have easily left us and went to a contender. He could have easily went on and helped somebody's chances of going to get a ring. But he did not. He chose not to. He said he wanted to cement his legacy with the Carolina Panthers. He said, let me heal up and let me show you if you put them dogs that are even similar in attitude like me and put them around me, I guarantee you we can turn this defense around. But then let's go to Ike. When we start talking about Ike Ekwonu, coming out of Charlotte, North Carolina, went to college at NC State, has always been pretty much what we say, the humble beginner. A guy that's from Nigeria, a guy that had went through the ranks of trying to prove himself from every step of the way to prove that he could play in this league. And then to come to Carolina, and not to the most success and fanfare in the early part of his career. And that kid continued to work. That continued to put the grind in. He continued to get with people that could help him get better. And now he's one of the better left tackles playing football right now in the NFL. That's because it's so beautiful is we're not even at the end of the season yet. We don't know what we could be. And that is one of the most exciting parts about it. Like in some ways I want to tell guys to be realistic. Some on some other ends, I'm like, hey guys, just praise it up to as high as you could possibly praise it. And then just the people that don't have any hope, just don't watch. Like I'm in so many different mindsets when it comes to it. But when you really look at it, you look at our fan base. And this is how I'm going to close my thoughts of the humble beginnings. Is for like actually one, like when we look at this fan base. And out of all the fan bases, you know, I've looked and I've discovered that, you know, when things are not going right, other fan bases do act like our fan base do. I can be honest about that. We're no different than others. So, as the Panthers before, when you talk us, the maybe 35 and ups or whatever, we have seen a return at some point with the Carolina Panthers. The Super Bowl and so forth, maybe not winning it, but we've seen division wins and things that we're not as ready to jump off the side of the bank as some of maybe more of our younger ones who only got the taste of Cam Newton's success and the Luke Kuechly success. And then when that door closed, yes, you had the CMC success, but that didn't really lead to like that joy of winning. We've been spoiled in different fragments of Panthers lore compared to some other situations. But when you think about us starting out up at Clemson, playing those games early on, to evolve into beating the 49ers in Candlestick Park at a time when the 49ers was like a very still like formidable and like pretty much what you look at the Chiefs and so forth in that time frame. 49ers was still like a hit team at that time. And for us to be coming from those beginnings to going through the eras of the Steve Berlines, the Jake Delones, the Harry Collins, the Jimmy Clausens, the Chris Winkies, and so forth, to the Cam eras, to Teddy Bridgewater. You know, as the line has gone, we've seen a lot of come that have had great success. We've seen a lot come that didn't have great success. But the one thing is, this Panther fan base, negatively or positively, have always ride or died and kept pounding for the Carolina Panthers, and they have it in their soul. Nobody outside of the players and staff that's out there fighting for it deserves this Super Bowl more than this fan base. And I salute every single one of you, because the humble beginnings is what really brings the celebration, the trophy holding, the Lombardi. You've got to come from humble beginnings. You will not find me one champion in any sport, in major sports, that they hadn't had to go through some kind of adversity to get to that championship. You're not going to find the MVP in none of those leagues that didn't have to go through some type of adversity. So at the end of the day, hey, it has been a lot of dark days. A light has started to peek through. That light is going to continue to peek through. And as I keep pounding, as my man Diesel Skills keep pounding, you keep pounding. Humble beginning.
The old barn stands with the wagon wheel, reminds us what is true and real. Before the lights, before the fame, we were hungry, broken just the same. But brotherhood don't need a mansion, it just needs truth and compassion. From zero into the playoff dreams, nothing ever is what it seems. Keep pounding through the doubt and pain, humble beginnings where legends are made.